Huh. Remember that.
Yeah.
All those rad things.
Yeah.
We could probably open this episode with just
rad things.
Yeah, just talking about three gentlemen sitting around talking about rad things. I don't see what the problem
You
is.
should have heard what we were talking about beforehand.
No one should hear
Rad
about that.
things.
Rad.
I don't see what the problem is, Lamar. We were talking about rad things,
Radical.
and that's all this GD audience needs to know. What's your problem? Welcome to Rabbit Troop Sucks.
Man.
What's your problem? So that's a crashing introduction.
All right.
Hi, we're Rabbit Troop Sucks. Welcome back. We're a podcast about obscure, forgotten about, and often overlooked films. And you know what? This round we're going to be looking at Explorers from 1985 because, oh my God, it just turned fall, and turning a new season means it's part 3 of the Year of Dante. We are back with a Joe Dante film. We had Small Soldiers from 98. In the summer, we did The Burbs from 89, and now we're at the fall season with 85 Explorers. Yeah, we did it.
We did. We're here. It's fall. It's cool.
Yeah, thank God.
Yeah.
You guys said you were going to do it, and we did the Joe Dante connection, the triangle.
We got
We're
one
here.
more. We got one more after this.
Oh,
We got a Winter Dante.
Oh, yes, that's right.
The Wante.
The season of Wante.
At the end of the season, you know what you'll want? Wanty. According to IMDb, we got a plot for you.
Okay.
A boy obsessed with 50 sci-fi movies about aliens has a recurring dream about a blueprint of some kind which he draws for his inventor friend. With the help of a third kid, they follow it and build themselves a spaceship. Now what? Question mark. I'm like, wow, I don't know who wrote that, but that was a pretty good story.
With the help of a third kid.
Yeah. Vague and question marks.
Some other bozo.
Then Chompy wanders up the street. Things to note. We introduced ourselves as a podcast, but as always, I'm Paul, and next to me is Mike.
Hi, I'm Mike.
Well, okay, and there's Lamar.
Hi, I'm Lamar.
And this is the Year of Dante. He is spiritually with us, still alive, but spiritually with us. If you're listening to this late, but just in time, just remember tomorrow we're going to be at Aurora Minicon. We got a little thing going on where we're going to be talking about redemption stories. Our feature is It Doesn't Take Christmas, our favorite redemption stories from film, or our favorite film redemption stories. We're going to be in the Central Library in the Cultural Room on the second floor at 12:15. So come down to the Aurora Minicon.
That's right. We're bringing the culture.
We are the culture.
Yes.
We
are a culture.
We may or may not talk about Explorers. We'll probably bring up Joe Dante in some capacity, because why wouldn't you? Yeah, but Joe Dante, third film. I'm going to open up with a couple other people included in the cast and crew. So we got writer Eric Luke, and I want to throw out Eric Luke because he does some very interesting things. Eric Luke does some writing for a reboot of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in early 2000. I think I wrote 2003 to 2004. Kind of cool. Like, that's a cool writing credit.
Yeah.
He did a series of films. He did part 2 and 3 to this weirdo series of films that I absolutely forgot about. Not Quite Human.
Yes.
Stars Alan Thicke.
Yeah.
The Thicke. He plays the father of a robot son. But real shout out
like
to
in real life.
Yeah. Real shout out to all the fans of this. Eric Luke is the story creator of Gargoyles, and I am a huge fan of Gargoyles.
Shit.
And I think that cartoon's rad as hell, and I know we got some Gargoyles fans in this room.
Wow,
So-
I'm so glad you brought that up. I had no idea he was a writer behind all these projects that I'm a big fan of. Turtles, obviously. Gargoyles, yes. And I was a huge fan of Not Quite Human, the Disney movies that were just, I think there was 3 of them. I can't recall, but I watched a couple of them. I loved them.
Yeah. And let's throw out the dude doing the score. Unfortunately passed away at 75 in 2004. We get Jerry Goldsmith. Jerry Goldsmith is credited with insane amounts of music stuff. He's in music departments. He's listed as a composer. He's listed as a conductor. He is the person who wrote the Universal logo and is credited with that with like 150 things. So that music that plays there. He did tons of Star Trek material. He's just credit. I mean, then there's like Curious George. He did like kids stuff. Like this guy is all over the place. And I mean that with such positivity that you will look up Jerry Goldsmith and you're like, oh my God, I've absolutely seen a movie that he was in, or you've seen the Universal logo.
Absolutely. You covered a lot of his bases. A lot of Star Trek in here, inner space. Yeah.
I'm going to note that I feel also Joe Dante Inner Space. This is almost like the kids' version of Inner Space that we're about to cover.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, we have notable people. We have Ethan Hawke, who did this movie and then went immediately to Training Day. There was no other film in between. If you want to see Ethan Hawke get wet, you go watch him crash into a river and then Training Day.
That's a good connection. It took a while to get there, but he did it.
Yeah, he clearly Dead Poets Society, Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, Before Midnight. The Black Phone was a more recent film we watched. I really like that. He has done some directing. I think Ethan Hawke is super cool. I think his daughter is super cool. Maya Hawke, known in Stranger Things. She's a musician as well. We get River Phoenix in this movie, and he is so young, it's like almost unrecognizable. And I mean, like this. I mean, River Phoenix lived such a short lifespan, but it was basically like 0 to like crazy party time, because it was like he is a young kid here, but then in like a couple years, he is a teenage heartthrob who is just partying amongst the stars until his death.
His death, partying amongst the stars.
Right. You know, he died on Halloween.
Yeah, he OD'd at like the Viper Room or whatever.
Yeah, Johnny Depp owned. But to balance that in the universe, John Candy was born on Halloween.
In the Viper Room?
In a Viper.
Yeah.
One gives to the other.
River Phoenix is definitely here. We get Madonna Peterson, who is basically a thrown away character in this entire film. She plays Laurie Swenson.
She's from Greeley.
Yes, she is from Greeley.
And she's also dead.
She died from an accidental morphine overdose. I was like, how terrible.
That's a drag.
I'm not trying to bring up like bummer things. I was going to note, I saw in her trivia that she was born in Greeley and she went to school in Colorado, so Colorado connection. And a movie we'll probably eventually do one day, Can't Buy Me Love. She is the love interest in that. Terrible in that.
Yeah.
Also passed away, but in many of the films, Dick Miller, we've noted that for all the Joe Dante films, and in Chopping Mall, he was there. I thought, I'd have to go back and listen, Lamar. I thought we forgot to mention this fella during Small Soldiers, but Robert Picardo is in Small Soldiers. I know we corrected that somewhere. He is also in The Burbs, and he is in this. And when I was going through the cast, I was like, Robert Picardo's in this? Like, I definitely have seen Explorers, 1985, recently. So I was like, what the hell? But then they listed the character's name, and it was Starkiller. And as soon as I read that, I was like, oh my God, that's Robert Picardo. And we'll get to Robert Picardo. I've said this with every Joe Dante film. I mean, everyone's got to be having a blast. Like or dislike his films, I have to believe the cast and crew is having a good time.
Yeah, probably.
The kids, definitely. You can tell just by the way they are. They have so much great chemistry together. You can tell they're just boys being boys.
Kid Cam?
Not actors being actors. Just being free and...
Kid
Cam. Yep, exactly.
These are all the abbreviations you find on a fake TikTok. Well, ACAC.
They had it all. The ACAC, the backpack, and the Connect.
Kid Connect. Kid Keck. Mike, you said you now have a vague memory of this film, that you have seen it. So I'm kind of curious going into it. It's a little more intimate evening in the troupe. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think of Explorers?
We're just jumping right to the end.
I'm kind of curious.
Yeah.
I chose this film. I think this is definitely a more forgotten or overlooked Joe Dante film. Like, this isn't one of the bigger ones. But I don't think that's bad. But you've got some huge names. I mean, you have Ethan Hawke and River Phoenix. These are huge names.
Yeah.
But this is also more of a kid's movie.
So I went into tonight not thinking I had seen this movie. And I made it through a good portion of the movie also not thinking that. Until the scene where they're building the craft out of the, like, carnival pod or whatever. I've definitely seen that. I don't know if I saw a clip of it in a hotel room or something, but I don't remember. Going through the rest of the movie, none of that was familiar to me.
I like that, like, oddly, you're like, it could have been a clip in a hotel room, and I don't know why immediately that was, like, kind of pornographic for me. Like,
Okay.
I don't know what this movie is. Keep it on.
Well, that's usually what I'm doing in hotel rooms.
Just turning on Explorers, get
Yeah.
weird background films.
I can't think of a reason, like, all I do is watch things on streaming services, so I can't think of a reason why I would have seen a random 5 minutes from the middle of a movie unless it was in a hotel room, which is the only place that has cable that I've been in the past 20 years.
That's fair.
All of that makes sense now.
But if you want to know how I like the movie, I love the first 3/4 of it, and then I hate it so much.
I was wondering, we took a small little break, and I was like, I know where I want to pause this film, because there is a huge shift in tone. It's almost like a secondary director stepped in, and and I see what Mike's now going to say. It's not going to bother me as much, but I could see any defense where someone's going to be like, the end of this film is super not like any part of the first 3/4 of this film.
No, it is not.
Yeah, so this movie starts off with dreams. Like, hey, Lamar, let me give you a throwback. So I've been having these dreams. Anyone?
Oh, wait.
I've been having these
Sounds familiar.
dreams. Simultaneously, two people say dreams.
James. I don't know what you're after.
And
here.
then people make out on a rooftop in a pool.
Damn it, it was hackers.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Boom.
Okay.
I was thinking that. I just can't remember that. Oh, the ending.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, come on. Come on.
So just like Hackers, Junior,
This is the sequel.
the prequel. These are the Hackers' parents. Hack Daddy and Mommy.
Hack Daddy. I just like that name.
Baron Nikon. I'm sorry, Barrister Nikon.
Barrister. Yeah.
Ben, Ethan Hawke, is having dreams.
Dreams.
Should have said you were elite from the get-go. Yeah. I did. So we're on this pool. Well, he's having these wet dreams. And I'm just kidding. He is not in a pool.
Not yet. Not yet.
But he's flying around.
Yeah.
And some stuff's happening. He dreams of circuit boards.
As one does.
I wrote sci-fi shit and Tron shit.
It is
Yeah.
Tron shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
And he has dreams that he's flying, and he wakes up and he calls his friend on the old walkie-talkie, who is named Wolfgang, and that is River Phoenix. And they're always in communique for whatever reason. They're clearly good friends, but they're in communique about these dreams that Ben's been having, and he's been drawing the circuitry, which is very rudimentary in all of this, just like shapes. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But he's doing all these things, and Wolfgang's like, I'm gonna build what you're saying. I'm gonna investigate this, and I've got to say, I've seen this movie as a kid, and how about this? I know where Mike is going with his like and dislike of this film, but I'm very happy Mike does like the first parts of this, because the first parts are dope as hell for me. I'm like, when I was a kid, and I'm definitely going to be nostalgic about this film and super biased in my grading, these scenes in particular, I'm like, oh my God, like, what if you could just build stuff with computers and circuitry? Like,
Well, you can. If you just solder the shape that you see in your mind,
but
it works.
as a rube,
Right.
a 10-year-old rube watching the movie,
Yeah.
or younger at the time, like, clearly this is all in my imagination. Like, I was definitely younger than these kids, and I was like, oh my God, like, one day maybe I would know about computers. And oh my God, you saw the 5 1/4 floppy disks, right, Lamar? Just strewn on a table, like 17 things.
Wolfgang's got quite the setup down there.
Right, it's probably like a 5K dictionary.
I think we all wish we had friends like Wolfgang. When
Oh,
we were
yeah.
young, just a kid with a whole bunch of circuitry in a laboratory in a basement with he can dick around with.
I want to propose something too, that there's no indication of this, but what if this whole movie was just them in the basement and them in that ravine building this thing, and this is
Yes.
all in their minds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
Oh, yeah.
that's kind of what makes up for this like more sour ending that we're gonna lead to.
I would have imagined something cooler then.
Sure. But yeah, I mean, it's yeah. There's a lot going on in this movie, and just as a kid, I was like, oh my god, like it was so cool just to think like science was like so unlimited that like one day like maybe we could do these things, and I'm like, why couldn't a kid do this? But I mean, again, I was like super young when I saw this film. And looking at it as an adult, I'm like, this is a cool kids film. Like, I like the concept of it. Like, learn science. Like, build rocket ships. Like, get in weird bubbles that are like force fields that gravitate you somewhere. Like, how cool.
Yeah. I mean, even though the technology is super dated, obviously, I think this is still like a good kids movie today. I mean, I don't have kids, but it seems like kids now would enjoy this movie.
Kids love bubbles.
Kids do love bubbles. I kind of like bubbles.
What kind of bubbles? I think I just stepped on a cord.
Oh, God. All kinds of bubbles. Double bubble, Diggly Chew bubbles.
Sure.
Just put a kid in a bubble, have yourself a bubble boy or
Yeah.
bubble girl.
Right.
Oh, I think we just have a theme song going on. It's log, it's big, it's heavy, it's wood. It's better than bad, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone loves a log.
God, you're gonna love a log. And that's this movie wrapped up.
Yeah,
A
there
log.
you go. Log.
The three kids inherit a log, and they shape it, and they worship it like a god.
There should be a movie like that. I would watch it and review it.
Lord of the Flies log.
Is that the sequel or prequel?
It's concurrent. It's on the next island over.
Wow.
While you were doing this, we were shaping a log.
Yeah, you guys were killing each other and like, man, body shaming everybody.
We had peace over here.
We had this log. He was super chill.
It's the real log jam.
Right. You guys are getting Coco Loco over here off a log.
Wow.
Yeah, so we get some things going on outside of these dreams. Basically, we establish a quick friendship. Ben and Wolfgang are friends.
Mm-hmm.
The next day, we meet Steve Jackson. What a jerk. Him and his bully friends are picking on Ben a little bit, but they really hone in on Wolfgang. They knock his books out of his hand.
Because
They're
he's
like,
a big fucking nerd.
you're a big old nerd. I mean, kid's basically wearing like a lab coat to school. I'm not saying he's asking for it in that comment.
No,
I was
he's like dressed like Beekman's World going to school.
Well, it was just like weird. Like the attire is like super like stereotypical. Like no kid would really be wearing that. Is what I'm noting. We also see that Ben has a love interest in this girl Lori. This is absolutely an unnecessary character.
100%.
Like the idea of Lori, like the execution of Lori, it does not work. The idea of what's happening, I'm totally fine with, but it's like a fleeting thought, and then someone's like, "Oh my God, didn't we hire that girl? Like, put her in another scene."
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what's going on in any of that. That's kind of weird. But you just see this guy Steve Jackson is a huge bully. He later in the day, when the class gets out, apparently he's fighting Ben. And then this guy, Darren, kind of comes over, and Steve Jackson's bullies are all like, hey, like, I'm outnumbering everyone, and Steve Jackson is on top of Ben, and Darren just basically just kicks him in the face, like, right off. And they're like, get him! And all the kids run after Darren, and he just runs away.
Yeah. He's got a dope motorcycle.
Yeah, Ben wants to be friends. He's like, hey, are you into sci-fi? And he's like, nope.
Nope. Sure aren't.
He's like, you got a real sweet bike. He's like, cool, yeah, I know how to fix it. Just stalling out for a second, but I gotta go. He's like, yeah, we should hang out sometime. He's like, and drives right off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But they do hang out.
Friends forever.
Friends forever. Best friends forever.
Right. I talked to Lamar about this. So Lamar saw this movie a handful of years ago for the first time with me. For whatever reason, and this stuck with me again, all of these day scenes at school are really crisp. There's might be a little grain, but like it almost feels like it did not age whatsoever. We watched this off a streaming service. I own this movie. We watched this through iTunes, like the Apple app or a former iTunes, but the Apple streaming app. And like the movie later is darker and more grainy, and it like makes sense. I'm not saying it looks bad. It's just like clearly from the 80s with limited 80s like lighting technology. But that specific day scene, I was like, what the hell's going on? Like,
it did look, well, what you didn't know is that Joe Dante had a dream.
He was bending circuits.
He woke up and he soldered some circuits together, and then an alien gave him a camera from the future.
That does happen when you touch the tips of two circuits.
Yeah.
You cross tips.
That's what he did.
That's
It
the
was
missing
worth
piece.
it for
Yeah.
the quality and the clarity.
Tummy
of the,
tips.
Yeah, and he filmed the one outdoor scene and he dropped it. He's like, oh, fuck.
Hey, that one outdoor scene
Yeah.
got me because it looked good and crisp.
Always tummy sticks and tips.
Never tummy sticks.
I'm glad you did mention that, though, Paul.
The tummy tips?
No. The clarity of the outdoor scenes. And Mike, to your credit, yeah, they immediately dropped that.
Yeah, and now Ben and Darren are best friends.
Yeah.
Darren, there's like weird elements to this film, and for some reason it all clicked in for me as a kid. Like I understood this. So they're walking like home, and Darren kind of gets to his home separately, and he sees his dad's home, and somehow Ethan Hawke, Ben, catches up with him. He's like, "Oh, why didn't you wait for me?" I'm like,
Because I don't like you. a
right.
ton,
I'm like,
really.
damn. Like the kid kind of was apparent that he straight up ditched you, or just got out of there quickly, and Ben's like, oh, is this where you live? He's like, yeah, my dad's home, but he's kind of weird, and he seems to be in some kind of funk right now. And he's like, well, why don't you just like hang out with me? And they're like, okay.
Yeah, why not?
And I kind of dig that. Like, and as a kid, I understood like something's weird with the parents. Maybe I didn't understand. Like later, it's revealed. I mean, quickly later, that Darren's mom died when he was younger, and it's just his dad, but he seems to have bad luck, like holding jobs or various other things. I mean, there's implications clearly, but they're never really direct on exactly what's happening. But even as a kid, I was just like, I kind of like that Ben immediately likes Darren, and they're like, hey, let's just move beyond it. Like, that's a kid thing to do. Like,
Yeah.
it's like kid resiliency.
Right. Like, hey, we're friends now.
Yeah, and like as an adult, you're like, damn, I'm gonna unpack this. And as kids, you're like, I don't know, that seems shitty. Want to go get a sandwich and get away from this? And kids are like, yes, I do. And I'm like, damn right, kids.
Yeah.
Like that's how you do it.
Yeah, all that was taken care of in like a 1 minute scene of them just walking through the woods. Like, what does your dad do? He's not around anymore. My parents hate each other. All right, let's go get a sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I had to mentally unpack that. Thinking about Stephen King's It over the years. You know, when I was a kid, I saw It, and I always thought the kids got it the worst. I still think that's the better half of the story, but I always were like, oh my God, you're preying on kids. But like, as I'm noting, there's like a weird resiliency to kids where they're like, I fell down, I'm bleeding, I just get back up, almost out of stubbornness. Like, that's just kids. But I really feel, you know, as adults, then it's the mentally unpacking it. Because, like, the second half of it is, like, 27 years later. I'm like, oh, man, these people have been thinking about this shit for 27 years, like, every day of their life. Like, their lives have been altered and somewhat ruined. I'm like, oh, man.
Yeah.
There's so much time to process shit.
Well, time to process. And when you're young, you know, you heal quicker, you bounce back quicker. You don't know how much it costs to go to the hospital. Like, after 20 years of thinking about that.
Right.
You know, like, I can't afford to fight this fucking clown.
Right, so yeah, the lack of damn, this clown's making me bankrupt.
Right.
Pennywise, you know what I'm talking about.
Pennywise, dollar-wise.
I got a second job, Christ. Yeah, and that's what I really mean. I know, long-winded thing, but I'm like, that's the kid resiliency. Like, there's a lot of implications of what's going on here. And it's just like, let's move beyond it, and kids will be kids. I'm like, hell yeah. And that's like the core of it, the story. Like, everyone's coming from a different background, but essentially, kids will just relate with one another, and it's kind of awesome. So, yeah, they're walking home, and they go to Wolfie's house. And his parents are kooky, I guess, in the eyes of everyone. They're supposed to be like very stereotypical Germanic. It's like, oh, guten Tag, good to see everybody.
Do you know who his parents are?
No.
The father is James Cromwell.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah. Awesome.
And the mother is the desk woman from Home Alone 2.
Are you serious?
Yes.
That's amazing. That's fantastic.
There you go.
It's
That's
all
my
in it.
early present to you.
Wow,
There.
I think I knew the James Cromwell before, and just seeing him like, and you saying that, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Like he's like always like kind of in a blur in motion.
He also always has like an oxygen mask on
or
for
like
some
big
reason.
thick glasses. But wow, I did not know that about the mom. Way to go on that one, Mike.
That was
Yeah,
a good
like
call.
her eyes and that goofy accent.
Yeah.
Because it's the same accent from Home.
I was thinking the hair, too.
The finest in the
I don't
city.
know why
Yeah.
yeah.
That's right.
You also forgot to mention there's like 40 kids.
Oh, yeah. They've
Yeah,
got a fucking
there's a ton
brood.
of kids. Dad looks like a stereotypical inventor. He's thin. He's wearing these thick glasses, as we noted. All these kids are running around. That's just the household.
There's
Mom's
a naked
serving
kid in the sink.
Yeah, mom's serving some baklava. That's
Yeah,
dope.
they got baklava.
Darren seems weirded out by that, but Ethan Hawke's like, oh, it's really good.
You guys like baklava?
I love baklava.
Really?
You don't like it?
So dry.
Oh, you're getting the wrong baklava. Or I'm going to say that directly. Yours has been just like sitting out. Like, I think someone just needs to home make it. It should be really kind of like gooey. That's how much like honey should be in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be kind of gooey.
All right. Someone make me gooey baklava.
Send it to Mike.
There you
He'll
go.
trade you some sound clips.
Yeah.
He'll eat it and go,
I'll record myself eating it.
chomp.
So gooey.
By the bits. Kind of nuts are these?
I didn't have baklava until later in life.
Yeah.
So I worked in a bakery that made baklava.
Lava.
Delicious. I love it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
I
really good.
want to like it because I
Yeah.
like all the ingredients.
Yeah.
But it's always just like a dry, sticky.
That doesn't surprise me because I think a
Flaky.
lot of bakeries would just like keep it around and just like sell it as is, and probably you don't want to just keep it around,
Yeah.
and then it just hardens up.
Oh,
But, like,
yeah.
if you just get it, I'll make some. I used to make some a long time ago.
Okay, make me some baklava.
yeah.
Write that down.
The Va is in
Hashtag.
town. Hashtag Rabbit Troop Sucks baklava style. We're doing it.
Perfect.
Going Greek.
I think that means something else.
Full Greek.
Okay.
Get him to the Greek.
There you go.
We'll fry my cheese and call me Ben.
There we go.
Yeah, we're at Wolfie's house, and they go to the basement, which is this super cool hangout. And this is why I'm like, this could all be in their imaginations. The basement is full of sci-fi books, but there's some odd things said in this movie, and that's why there's like these loose ends. So one, Ben is having a serious talk with Darren, and they're going through all these sci-fi books and novels, and Darren's like, well, I'm kind of surprised you're into all this. He's like, well, they're all mine, actually. Like, my dad thinks I threw him away, but I brought him here. I'm like, you're talking about like you like stole your dad's Playboys and like brought him over. Like,
He's got like a popular science magazine.
like my son reads novels. Like, I was like, not this trash.
Yeah.
Get this out of my house.
Get your Ray Bradbury out of here.
Yeah. Ben's dad must be a big.
But we never see him, and we never like
Yeah,
that
that's
that like story goes nowhere. And
No.
I'm like, what?
Well, we see his mom, like once?
And the mom's like, oh, I'm gonna turn off your sci-fi movie because it's 3 a.m.
Right. And it's turned up to 12.
Yeah, so I think
Shit.
I think what they're trying to establish here is Ben's a dreamer, and Ben's been having dreams. And
Dreams.
I'm not playing.
Yeah.
oh, he's gonna play.
I know you played a
Paladin
game.
Mike wants to come out and play. and all of a sudden, like, they try to establish that more here. Like, like, you're a dreamer, give up your dreams. And all of a sudden he's like, I had to give up my books and my fantasies, and they don't understand. That's why I tape these movies in secret. I'm like, no one said that. That's all in your head. Like, there's a scene where mom turns off a sci-fi movie. It's like 3 a.m. or really late, like way past this kid's bedtime, and he's got a TV in his room. No one's like, not this sci-fi movie. The mom's clearly like, you're pretending, or I think you're asleep in this bed. Turn off. No established idea why he had to give up these sci-fi books. But we find out Wolfie is a genius, and he has built the circuit board that Ben dreamt of.
Yeah.
And
How?
well, you dream up a couple shapes, and from my rudimentary understanding of circuit boards and circuitry and programming, you just put circuits on a board in a shape, and all of a sudden programs appear. You just pop that in.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It's like Doc Brown dreaming about the flux capacitor. He just drew it, and then he made it
Actually, yeah, that's
out of something.
a very accurate
That is-
description of what happened here.
That is correct.
Yeah, he drew like an octagon on a piece of paper, and he's like, "Here, can you make this?" Like,
Well,
yeah, of course.
The unfortunate thing about Explorers is they try to explain it.
They should
I like
not.
the ambiguity of it in Back to the Future. You're like, I don't like. He came to with this idea, like he had an
Yeah.
epiphany, whatever the hell that is. Like we, the audience, don't know.
Right, and he's also a scientist.
Right, and this kid is like, all right, I took this shape and I put it on a circuit board, and he even's like, I'm using this sweet 128K processor. It may or may not short out the motherboard,
Yeah.
and it doesn't. It stops for a second and it boots up.
So there you go. Wolfgang is superior to Doc Brown.
Yeah.
Maybe
Obviously.
they were one and the same.
Maybe.
You don't know.
This was Doc Brown early years.
Maybe.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
Maybe. 85. Was it that the same year? Explorers, Back to the Future.
It is.
Yeah.
Are you saying this movie tried to rival Back to the Future?
Maybe. Maybe.
Good luck with that.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
It
do
doesn't
that.
at all.
No.
It's good.
I love this movie. I'm going to say that pretty directly.
There we
I mean,
go.
I
Yeah.
picked this, but like, if we're going to talk, does that movie rival Back to the Future? No. I feel most films that you could throw in front of me, I'm going to be like, no.
No.
Hard nose.
Nope.
Yeah, no. But yeah,
It works.
yeah, they're like, what the hell's going on? And all of a sudden these coordinates come up and he's like, oh my God, we could put some stuff on the XY axis.
Yeah.
And he enters some coordinates and all of a sudden like, boo, like this, like invisible circle orb flies through the air and cuts through a bunch of books and just like flies out a window. And they're like, nuts to that, McGillicuddy.
I love when it asks for like the XYZ coordinates. He's like, okay, let's put some in. It's
Sure.
like 5.
2, 3,
Yeah, right.
5.
Like where?
Mike, that's exactly what you want to do in a
Right.
situation. I kept thinking about like if this was like a role playing game, like how this would go wrong. Because later on they do similar things. They're like, we could expand or shrink this ball. I'm like, you're about to blow up Earth.
Right.
like what? Like one decimal off, like things are gonna go super wrong.
That's fine.
Yeah.
They got it under control.
Well, later that night, not a lot happens. Ben goes and, to his room and then eventually just sneaks out the window. There's a ladder that leads to the roof. He lays on the roof. He phones in Wolfie and he's like, hey, how you doing? And he's like, well, I got that problem kind of solved that we had before. Like, so why don't you come on over? I kind of fixed this ball problem and ball problem solved.
Yeah. His blue ball problem.
He was working on his basement.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, do you remember what I called them both?
No.
It's a shame.
Okay.
Well, ball problem solved.
Yeah.
And then eventually Darren comes over. I don't know like how that was established, but they call it Darren.
They got him a third walkie.
Nice.
Yeah. He's a friend. He's in the gang now.
Part of the group.
Yeah, I like this part of the group. So they're like, hey, let's see what's going on. And they make the ball non-invisible.
Yeah.
It is now visible. It's colored. It's like somewhat blue and transparent.
He changed the parameters.
Yeah, he just changed some parameters. He even notes like they think it's going to be in front of him, and he's like, "Oh, I was off." I was like, "All right, like
you shouldn't be. You should be better.
right." So I was also like, "Lesson learned," because you almost made a ball appear in maybe his chest, and then he would die. So luckily they avoid that, but he's like, oh, I could like shrink it or grow it. And he like makes it go bigger. And I'm like, that's what I said. Like all of a sudden it's like the size of a coconut. And I'm like, dude, wrong decimal. And it's going to destroy your house and you or Earth or the city you live in. Like, good God.
To be fair, he does seem to have a little like control over it.
A little bit.
Like, he's typing on his keyboard and he can make it shrink and grow, and it's not like going haywire until something happens later. So he has control over it.
But it does go haywire.
It does, unfortunately.
And
it's that damn cat.
It is the fucking cat.
And to like drop the mask I'm wearing of not being like a child nostalgic for this. But
That's true.
These kids come up with an idea. They're ball savvy, as some people would say.
They want to get all up in that ball. So
Yep.
So the next day, they go to some hilltop with their computer.
Yep.
They get wireless power from like a tree stump, I guess.
Yep.
Because they don't plug this thing into anything.
They have it. No. Wolfie later.
Oh, he's got a 9 volt
He's got a
in there.
9 volt.
Yeah.
He's got what was the Black Cat 9 volt battery.
Yeah.
That alkaline battery. It was that red battery. I saw the symbols, that Black Cat one. I was like, oh my God, this is so 80s. Because he's like, I didn't even need to use most of this. But yeah.
It's astounding how far we've gone back from
Sure.
being able to power an entire computer
Yeah. Imagine-
and ball with a 9 volt battery.
Well, the ball really sucked it, Mike.
The ball, yeah. The ball did suck it.
It sucks and it cuts. It
certainly
does
sucks.
suck. So Ben loads up the old computer and accidentally balls Wolfie, and he is just floating around. He is zooming this way, zooming that way. He goes underground. They're like, oh my God, he's going to go so far, but then he pops out underground, then lands in a tree. He's laughing his ass off.
Yeah, he's excited. He went for a ride.
He's like, the first thing he says is like, I couldn't breathe in there.
Yeah, there's no air, no inertia, but no air.
Loved it.
Yeah, having a great time.
Or was that Wolfgang? Oh, no, it was Ben.
No, it was Wolfgang.
Yeah, Wolfgang was bald.
Yeah,
Okay.
because after that, Ben was like, I want to go next. Also, we need to use this so I can perv on this girl.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was his first instinct.
Hey, Mike, life's short. Stunt it.
Like Wolfgang understood that, hey, we can use this to explore underground and whatnot.
Yeah.
First thing Ben wants to do, let's go.
Like, I want to
perv
explore
on these
something.
girls.
Yeah, so Darren's like, you know what would be great? We should go to the ceiling of the girls' shower facility. I'm like,
No,
What?
no one will notice that.
like what? Like I don't know. And you go to junior high, dude. Like let's get that out of your head.
Yeah.
They
But
aged
then-
them up a little.
Yeah, but then Ben's like, you know what I want to do? And they're like, oh no. And the cutscene is, oh yes. Ben's bald, spying on Lori. Lori's like on the phone with her friend. He's like, I could see her. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
Even Darren was like, dude, it's like 5 o'clock. She's not going to get naked right now.
Yeah, she's fully clothed, just talking on the phone.
So what would be ideal in this is Mike and I talked about this many seasons and moons ago. Brain scan.
Okay.
So in Brain Scan, one, they aged everyone up. You're in high school. You're like, okay, this is a little more young adult, but realistic. We're not in like junior high. But I noted like, hey, they had a sweet room. And this dude just like hanging out on his computer, listening to any music he wants. He's got like a fridge stocked with all the snacks he wants. And his neighbor next door, he's super into, and she loves to purposely disrobe so he could watch. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, wow. This kid's got it all. he's living the American dream.
Yeah. Well, Ben's trying to.
Yeah, Ben's in a ball.
Yeah.
Like 3 stories up. Just watching a girl talk on the phone.
Yeah.
All right.
Why did I write down cream pie right here?
You don't want your name on that.
Okay.
Someone was talking about eating a Boston cream pie.
Okay.
I can't remember what context.
Thank God.
but Let's move past it. Just perving on someone talking about eating some cream pies.
Okay.
Right on. And that's how it is.
Yowza.
Paul has logged off.
Well, see you guys tomorrow.
He's back in.
Well, after that, they're like, you know what?
We can fly this fucking
Yeah,
thing.
Darren's like, I have this idea. Like, if we could be in a ball like this, we could kind of expand it and get some stuff in this.
Yeah, you put a seat, we can fly.
I get a seatbelt. I could sew some seatbelts like Homer Simpson sews it to a mattress. Marge, get sewing. Yeah, so Darren's plan is that we get a bunch of stuff in there and go cruising around. And he's like, hey, my uncle has this junkyard and I have some ideas. And it's kind of cool. They go to the junkyard and they get access to this like weird carnival ride pod.
Yeah, it's like the teacup ride where
Yeah.
the thing like spins around while it's spinning around in a larger circle, like a spirograph. I think it's that thing.
Yeah, and it's like 3/4 of a circle. Like
Yeah.
it goes over you. It's like 3/4 of a domed circle.
The tilt-a-whirl.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it
You're right.
was.
Yeah, it's a tilt.
You tilt and you whirl.
You both. XYZ axis.
Bing, bam, boom.
Hey.
Never cared for the tilt-a-whirl.
No.
It's all right, but it's not the greatest thing.
No. Give me the chipmunk. That's what I want.
Well,
Yeah.
Nope.
Just a little chip tooth from that thing.
Yeah, if any of you want to go to Lakeside, you should go on the Chipmunk.
Now the
Yeah.
wild chipmunk.
Your chiropractor will thank you.
Yeah. If you want to use the bumper cars, we have some pro tips for how to do it safely.
Yeah, totally. Talk to me.
Yeah. Yeah, so that they find this thing and they kind of go to work building a little pod out of it. They put like a TV screen for a door.
I like this montage.
I like the montage as well. This is cool. And this is the scene that I remembered with nothing else apparently. But it's cool. Like it's definitely, if you were doing this as a kid, like this is what I would have built.
Yeah, I mean, they basically start to enclose it. So there's like a trash can and then like a TV screen and like all this other stuff. So all 3 of these kids could get in there. They have access to some gas masks and some oxygen tanks. They put like a big NASA sticker on the inside. Yeah, I mean, this is like now like a fortress. They built this in the woods. They kind of prop it off the ground a little bit as if it is a spaceship that will like propel up from almost like a launch blast. But yeah, and then that was kind of my like thought, like even if this movie, they don't do what they are about to do like throughout, that this was all in their imaginations. I was like, even as a kid, I was like, oh man, I'd play in this pod.
Yeah.
100%.
I'd go to the woods and play in a pod.
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to mention about this montage scene, I liked it because it showed how passionate they were about building this, because it spliced in footage of them showing up to school tired.
Right.
And you could tell that they were up working up all night. And it shows Ben and Wolfgang clearly just fucking up answers in class.
Well,
yawning,
Wolfgang's falling asleep, and
Yeah.
Ben is like half doing that, but he always gets the questions like, tell me about carbon dioxide. He's like, carbon dioxide is on this planet, and that planet does this. And everyone's like, you're a big old weirdo.
Yeah. Well, I mean, assuming that he was correct, that's more interesting than the actual answer.
I mean, that's true. They're really talking about like plants and how they
Right.
produce carbon dioxide. That's cool and all, but, you know,
Yeah.
you just got bend.
They did all get
Yeah,
banned.
you got hawked. Go on!
That was like a panther. Yeah.
Yeah.
No more animal sounds from me.
You could do any of the animal sounds they want.
It's a giraffe.
It's a dying giraffe. Well, they get this little ship up and going,
Yeah.
and they christen it.
with a beer.
Yeah, it's nice. Darren rolls up. He's like, oh, and like shakes his beer all over Ethan Hawke, and Ethan Hawke's like, dude, like seriously, like the quote is like, not cool. He's like, oh, I stole these beers. We gotta christen it. And I was like, oh shit, dude, you just like covered your friend and his sweater in just beer. Like that's gonna be a fun story to go home to.
Now
Like,
you're gonna get in a bubble with this guy. And
right?
It's
Oh
gonna
my
smell.
god, yeah, beer bubble.
Yeah. No.
But they christen it, and they christen their ship Thunder Road.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was Darren's idea,
yeah, Thunder Road.
and they never referred to it as that ever again.
Only at the end of the movie, Mike. Only.
Oh,
at the
did
end.
they? I missed
like
that.
what they say something about like Thunder Road was a good ship, like at the
okay.
very, very end. But I agree. They say it like now, and I think they say when they get in, like get into Thunder Road.
I dispute that. I think he just said she was a good ship. I think Thunder Road was only mentioned once and it was here.
Yeah, that's right.
But rewatch the movie, viewers.
we need Colin on this. Colin sometimes just loads up his phone and is like, that was said 17 times.
Colin's our fact checker, basically.
I like it.
Yeah, he's right now riding Thunder Road.
More like Thunder Chode.
You say Colin's Thunder Chode?
No, that's what he's right. No, it's not.
He's riding Thunder Chode?
Colin, are you
Colin, I don't know if this is going well for you. This is not. This is slander, friend. Well, they take Thunder Chode for a little ride.
That's right.
And they start just like seeing the town. They're seeing the city. They go and see a movie. They go to the drive-in, and you know, there's something that Ethan Hawke says that I do think this movie tries to connect as much as they can. Ethan Hawke's like, he's like, this feels like a dream. Like, doesn't this feel like super strange? He keeps referencing that. Like he's like really tied into this dream. They do start expanding this later in the movie. God, they include Lori at the end, which is
That was bonkers. Hey, Laura, you've been in this movie for 18
that-
seconds previously. Let's put you in the finale.
yeah, this is crazy.
Maybe this movie is the dream that he was having when they were sleeping in class.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sure.
All of this off of that.
Right.
Nice. Well, while they're at the drive-in, there's a movie playing, and it's a movie Starkiller, which I'm sure this is like an allusion to Star Wars this whole time.
I would 100%
Right.
watch this movie.
Oh my God, yeah. So this is where we see Robert Picardo. He plays Starkiller, and he's like this, I don't know, like space prince.
Menace.
But he's like killing all these bad aliens. But oh my God, he's got this like platinum blonde hair.
The hair is pretty good.
He looks like he's Flash Gordon. It's amazing. Like Robert Picardo, like just props to you. You seem like such a cool dude. But then all of a sudden the ship freaks out. Like the ship the kids are riding, it starts going haywire. And then all of a sudden it's going this way and that. They maintain a bit of the controls, but boom, all of a sudden a helicopter appears. And who's flying that helicopter? We got
Dickie Mills.
yeah, Dickie Mills, Joe Dante regular, Dick Miller. Last seen shopping mall. Mm-hmm. But we got this guy. We got him in.
He's back.
He's there by contract. I got even a name. Charlie Drake.
That's a pretty good name. Yeah.
I don't think it's ever used. Maybe someone's like, Charlie.
Charlie. His co-pilot's last name was Miller.
Yeah. They spliced in some kind of joke there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who was his co-pilot? What was the actor?
I don't remember.
He looks so familiar, like we've seen him in other things.
He's been in a bunch of stuff.
Designing Women.
He was the guy from Designing Women, yeah.
Damn, you might be right.
Yeah.
I know my Designing
It was
Women.
that guy.
I'm like, have you been in Designing Women? And usually 4 out of 5 times people are like,
Never cross a sugar baker woman.
yeah, he's in Designing Women. He's Anthony. He was also in Mannequin, which
I was
suggested we do. Rest in peace, friend, 2014 at 67.
That's
Oh, man. Yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's terrible. Cancer. He had 3 kids. Oh, man. I like this guy. He just bit part. Like, yeah, we're not making fun of him, but he's got like a know-nothing part. He's like the co-pilot. And he's like, later he's like, stop looking for that maybe UFO you saw. He's like,
No.
no. I'm going to design with women.
That's how I'm going to do it.
He flies away.
I think I like the Starkiller movie that we saw better than this movie.
That's disappointing, Mike. But I would probably like the Starkiller movie more than most things.
That's fair.
That it seems like a good time.
There was a scene as they're watching the movie in the drive-in theater, like the Starkiller ship is being attacked, and it's him, an old man, and this bimbo, and like the ship gets attacked, and the old man gets killed, and Starkiller's like,
Makeout sesh.
there's a makeout session. He's like, it's like I feel like I lost a father, and the woman's like, Starkiller, that was my father.
Yeah. Then they make out. Right next to her dead father.
Yeah.
Classy.
Yeah.
Hey, he's out of the way. When Daddy goes away, this girl could play.
That's right.
And Starkiller can play as well.
Well,
Starkiller, you're being taken from behind.
wow. Well, yeah, that was said too.
Oh, man.
There's a lot going on. A lot of imagery, a lot of details.
Rich imagery. Yeah.
These boys get back. They get back to where they're going, and Ben is stoked. Ben's like, the next time we do this, I'm gonna bring this. We're gonna do that. And Wolfgang is like, holy shit, dude, what? He's like, we're kind of lucky to be alive. I don't know why things were shorting out. We lost control of stuff. There's programs coming and kind of beaming them into the ship. I don't have control of this. We should probably run tests. And Ben's like, test schmess. Look at my brand new
nerd
vest.
talk there.
Yeah. Take out your science vest.
Nice
Schmessed.
little vest. Light.
Walmart.
Well,
$9. Eat something.
nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we also see the next day, Dick Miller's like, I'm not having this. And this is what I said, that his co-pilot's like, hey, man, are you going back out there? Because they see this orb, like, in the sky, and then it's just gone. And he's like, there was things in that. And Dick Miller's like, I'm going to go try to find this. I mean, I can't blame Dick Miller.
No, you would want answers at that point.
Right, like Dick Miller is a sane person who's been flying helicopters and came basically face to face with a floating object, and he saw movement inside. Like, he couldn't see the kids' faces, but like, I would be pretty hell-bent to be like, I don't know what this is, but like, I'm gonna go find it.
His co-pilot believes he doesn't get paid enough for this shit and opts to stay home.
Yeah, I mean, I would feel that way after like 2 days.
Yeah.
Like, I would be pretty gung-ho for like 48 hours. Like, we're gonna find this thing.
Well, the thing is, like, where do you even... So you're in a helicopter and you see, like, what you believe to be an alien vessel whipping around, doing, like, you know, things that normal craft can't do. You're like, I'm going to find it. Like, where the fuck do you start looking? Like, he looks in the ravine,
Sure,
and he finds it, fortunately for him.
Well, I mean, the first place I would go to is the ravine.
Yeah, obviously.
I'm like, I saw this thing in the sky, but if I go to the ravine...
But I'll bet it's not the ravine.
that I've never been
Yeah,
to. If I go to a ravine...
Where, if I was going to park a spaceship, where would I do it? The ravine.
Yeah.
You go to the ravine.
Yeah. Well, he does that. This guy starts like canvassing town, and he finds this ravine, and he finds the ship, and when he goes into it, he finds a jacket that has Ben's name and Ben's address.
The sick members only jacket.
Yeah, and like a real creeper, he pops out
out of the bush.
yeah, what the hell is this scene? So, even if this is happening, and this guy is clearly now unhinged, like, so... His plan is he's waiting for this kid, and he doesn't know which kid, so he somehow found out.
Right.
But he's waiting in the vicinity of where Ben walks around, and like a ghoul, he pops up, he's like, "Bye-bye, hey." He's like, "You were the kid. You're the alien. Hey, spaceman." That's what he's like. Dude, can you imagine being like 12 years old and someone's like, "Hey, spaceman." I was like, "Oh shit, I'm gonna get stabbed." Like,
Right.
like someone's on something and they're in stabby mode.
Well, Ben runs away.
Hell yeah,
Like,
dude.
I mean,
kids, if you're listening to this, you run fast and far. There's some weird creeper.
I guess my instinct would have been immediately to lie
Yeah.
and be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Because no one's gonna believe this old man. Even if if he brought you home to your parents, he's like, "I found this kid's jacket. Like he's flying a carnival ride around."
I mean,
that parents are gonna be like, "Get the fuck away from my
Of course.
kid."
I mean, I totally agree, but like Ben did absolutely the right thing. Like this
Stranger
dude,
danger.
No shit, dude. Like in the darkness, this guy popped out. Was like, "Hey,
We didn't have stranger danger in the 80s.
hey, you flying stuff."
I would have
in
gone
the
with
air."
that dude wherever he asked me to.
Yeah, in the
Mike-
80s, you just go with it.
Yeah.
Mike's with him right now. Mike,
Yeah.
this podcast is a dream.
That's how I got here. We got McDonald's first.
These movies are a drug hallucination you've been having for years, decades.
I'm bound in someone's basement right now.
Man, the movies you don't like, you manufactured yourself. That's really messed up.
Yeah, it's weird. It's because I hate myself.
It's a vicious circle
It
that you
is,
put
yeah.
yourself in.
Yeah, yeah. After all that, it's time for flight number 2.
Flight of the Conchords.
Flute of the Commodore.
Ladies and gentlemen, Flute of the Commodore.
They've got snacks.
What kind of snacks?
I don't know, chips maybe.
What did they bring?
I don't know.
Like,
Cream pies.
it's kind of weird. There's this scene. I don't want to get it too ahead, but they're flying around and Ben's just looking out the window and he's so much excitement on his face, but he's just eating like chips. I think it was.
Yeah, no, he was hungry.
Yeah, he loves it.
Yeah, it's like peanuts on an airplane. You want something salty. So this kind of happens sort of fast. Do they lose control of the thing? Does something like get downloaded?
So basically, they're able to float into space.
Yeah.
And then they're like, all right, we're hoping we make contact. And all of a sudden, they basically like zigzag loop. And it's very clear they're like just thrust into some kind of like warp.
Yeah.
Like they're just like launched somewhere. You assume like that's hyperspace or something like that.
Right. And then they just pop out right by a spaceship.
It was
Pop.
indicated in their earlier flights that something was trying to take them into space.
Yeah,
and they were able to reverse and come back to Earth.
Yeah, like weird symbols were popping up on the screen, etc.
But this time they're just letting them take them.
Yeah.
They want to be tooken.
And Wolfgang believes that this is going to be their first contact kind of experience.
Yeah. And this is the exact moment where this movie loses me.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Do tell, Mike.
Yeah. So they're
These kids are on a ship. They're sucked in tractor beam.
they're sucked in tractor beam. So yeah, they kind of get separated. They get out of the bubble. They're walking around the ship, and actually this is fine. Like it's like they're in a spaceship. They don't know what the fuck's happening. They get split up, separated. They find a big like metal robot spider that pats him down and
This
whistles at his girlfriend's photo.
So I'm gonna direct this a little more at Lamar with this spider. I don't feel Mike grew up watching some of the stuff I'm about to note, and I don't mean like I can't think of the very famous British troupe off the top of my head. Monty Python, duh. Oh my god. I don't really mean that. Lamar, you've seen some like weird early 80s British sitcoms.
Yeah.
And like we have a friend that we know who like watch all these things. That spider scene seems like it walked right out of that. Like a 1979 British short of weirdness. Like it seems so departed from this movie. I was like, what in holy hell?
It had a weird effect that is like I don't want to say weird zoomed in stop motion that
Like
they
stop
do.
motion paper mache in areas.
Yeah, it
I
was
thought it
actually
looked
kind of
fine.
scary.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it looked pretty good, all things considered.
Well,
Yeah.
well, out of context, I agree with you. In context, I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
I was like, that just came out of nowhere. I'm like, am I watching a different movie? Like, the effect of that is so different than almost anything I've seen Joe Dante ever do. Like,
That's very true,
If
yes.
someone was just like, that was a totally different person and they had a cameo and they did this thing, I'd be like, I believe you.
Even for the age of, like, I think Joe Dante was probably experimenting with these effects.
Drugs.
and drugs. If you combine them together, you get an effect kind of like this.
We call it children's magic. So
It worked if you want to create some nightmare fuel if you're the right age
I
and
guess.
you see a little spider like this, mechanical spider walking around.
Well,
this
then
weird
it's super
motion.
adorable. It takes out these little sniffers and sniffs them up and down.
Yeah, it went from scary to what?
Yeah, adorable. And then slowly the kids are getting separated. Darren is somewhere else and he's exploring the ship. Kind of like everyone is like separated to fit their personality. Like Darren's very inquisitive and very like kind of like street smart. Like throw him in a situation, he's going to figure it out. Then for a little bit, Wolfie and Ben are together. And then Wolfie disappears. And all of a sudden he is just macking on this lady.
Right, like this lady alien is horned. She's ready for it.
Oh, this is where the aliens kind of make a weird
Dude,
appearance.
once the aliens start fucking talking, I can't even handle it.
It like when the aliens show up,
Well, because
They-
yeah,
they're not fully on camera. It's kind of alluded that the aliens are there.
right. You see the male alien kind of lurking, and this is what I hated the most. So the male alien talks like Bumblebee from the Transformers, like he can only say things that are on television, but he's doing it in the voice. So it's like, hey, what's up, Doc?
Yeah.
You can't handle the truth, and it fucking sucks.
This is unfortunately the entry to
Yeah.
all this, and it's quite long.
And well, he sings a fucking song, like an entire song.
He's got some jazz
true.
hands.
Yeah.
You don't like the jazz hands?
Meanwhile,
Spirit fingers.
the lady alien is talking to Wolfgang. She's like, "Wait, you got a girlfriend? Like, you want to fuck or what?"
I love Wolfie's attitude. The whole
no, Wolfie's just like,
Oh my
I don't
God.
know. Like,
Where he's-
it's-
where he's
I
like-
got something.
Where he's like,
going
of
on."
course I've got a girlfriend.
It's not
He's
like serious, but,
like,
you know.
I'm not committed or anything. She's like, oh my God.
It's a way different experience from Ben's first experience with the aliens and Wolfgang's, which you don't really see his first experience. They just kind of cut to him lounging on a couch. They're holding hands and they're just
Yeah,
talking
you don't know how
casually
that started.
about just relationships and whatever.
Yeah, and Ben is slowly like disenchanted about what's going on.
Right.
He's like, this is kind of weird. Like, you only know things from media, and somehow Wolfie is like knowledgeable about everything.
Well, that's because the girl alien that he's talking to talks like a normal person and is explaining things to him.
But
whereas
I mean-
dude alien will not shut up
Well,
about TV.
but they've only been separated for like a handful of minutes, and he's like, "Oh, well, they've actually never been to our Earth, and like, you know, there's these germs, but they love media." Like, he knows a lot.
yeah,
like,
he's
That's
piecing
true.
it together.
well, I mean, one thing to note also, like Darren like slips into another room, and all of a sudden he's like, "I'm gonna put this thing on my head." I'm like, "All right,
Yeah, sure.
And then all of a sudden he's like beamed imagery, and he's like, "I've seen that dream that we shared." And if I didn't say before, sorry, there's a lot going on in this film. They build on those dreams before they get into the rocket that goes to the spaceship. They now all collectively share a dream. Like Darren, Ben, and Wolfie, they're all like, "Oh my God, that's how they upgrade this circuit board. That's how they're able to go to space." But now they're able to see, or at least Darren is able to see those dreams. He's like, "Oh my God, I saw those dreams." And he's like, "Oh, they're just beaming them in our head." Like,
Yeah,
no
beaming
biggie.
them right in.
No biggity.
I think it's important for me to mention, because I do really like the beginning of this movie. The monologue that the male alien goes on, which is just him quoting TV shows, is like 10 minutes.
It is.
It's very
It's
lengthy.
too fucking long.
I do agree. Absolutely. It's too long.
Nothing else about this. I mean, it was, this whole alien thing was jarring because of the way it was done. But like, if it hadn't have been for the fucking musical and the 10-minute monologue, this would have gone down a lot smoother.
Yeah, I actually have this really weird comment. So Jerry Goldsmith does the score for this, and I actually thought the score is excellent.
The score's good.
So I actually have the score on vinyl. I'm a big soundtrack nerd, as these guys know, and I got this ages ago, and I was like, oh my God, I'm totally going to listen to this. And before they came over, I had some odds and ends to do around the house, and I was listening to this soundtrack, and we're all listening to it. So there's a turn in this alien speech. So yes, okay, so if this was to be successful, and I totally agree with Mike, this goes on way too long. And he's like doing all this shtick, and he's quoting all, which are now super outdated, like sitcoms. There's like Mr. Ed, and then there's a little bit of Johnny Carson thrown in there, and there's all these like homages to like mid 80s and before. And he's like, and they're really trying to show like these aliens have picked up on what they think Earthlings are like because of media. And I get that. And I think this could be condensed in a much better thing in a couple
100%
minutes.
it could be done better.
But here's an interesting thing. That's why I brought up the soundtrack and Jerry Goldsmith. Then it takes a turn. And he's like, we can't just go to Earth because through media, the alien then becomes serious. He like breaks the shtick and the soundtrack drastically changes. And it goes in this like very like minor key and kind of highlighting this gloom of like, you might want to think about this. And he's like, we can never go there. And then they start showing all these scenes of like humans attacking aliens, and aliens are the bad guys.
I think it was The Day the Earth Stood Still is what they
showed. And I actually like this transition. And I was like,
no, this is fine.
Right. So I'm like,
everything before.
Yeah. Well, actually, I want to throw this out. So we're going with the soundtrack, and it becomes like really like solemn. And like as an audience member, I'm like, oh shit. Like, and the aliens become serious. He's like, we can't go there. We know what you think of us. And even like the sister is like, they'll kill us. Like,
maybe if they sang to the people, it would be better.
You guys hate us. Like all these things. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, what an interesting transition. But then the score just straight up stops for like 3 minutes. And I was like, what? Like even Jerry Goldsmith is like, oh, we're still going here? Like we got to cut
there's
this
more?
stuff. Use my other stuff as filler. I was like, oh yeah. Because then like there's other talks. But that serious moment I actually really like. I like that coming off the transition of, we're goofy, your media's goofy, you're Earthlings, only you have this. Like there's literally South Park episodes about this where like Earth is a TV show because they make TV shows and stuff like this. But, I think this is a cool concept. But yes, it goes on infinitely long.
Yeah. If you're a fan of some of the comedy or the stand-up that he was doing, I guess you might have found this. Even with the length,
Lamar,
even then, I don't know.
I watched this numerous times as a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, I understood all of the like homages that they were doing.
Yeah.
I even as a kid, I was like, this is such a bizarre scene. And I don't mind that it's bizarre, I guess, and that's kind of somewhat the point. But the lengthiness, and even as a kid, I appreciated like the more seriousness of it. Like, oh my God, of course, if aliens came here, we would try to kill them and maybe perceive them as a threat and dissect them, all the things that they were showing. But yeah, I mean, holy God, dial it back.
Yeah.
Dial it way back.
It's just, it's like two different movies. The beginning is like, I mean, it's a kid's movie and it's fun, but it's like the people in the movie are taking seriously what's happening. And then that gets thrown out the window the minute these aliens
It's enough to make you pause and just, like you said, jarring and taking you out of the moment.
I mean, I take it as like Dante was trying something out. And because he did it, to be clear, it's all done well. It just doesn't work. Like, it was a failed experiment in filmmaking.
I'm laughing because one of my opening comments in my notes that I forgot to share with you guys was there's kind of like this cheesy, like, sci-fi video opening like within the credits, and I wrote, this right here is better than The Lawnmower Man.
And you're right.
Many things are.
Right, but that was the next decade, and I was like, oh my God, that movie is such a disaster. It's just such a disaster that I don't even know if we're ever gonna cover it as a group. Like,
I don't.
That would have to be like,
man.
we'd have to establish that as like another drinking.
I don't even know if I want to watch that.
I mean, it'd be fun with Jeremy if he had lots of drinks.
Yeah. Maybe we can do that if he's here next time.
We give him like Mama Santaria's tequila like mix, like whatever, or margarita mix.
Yeah.
The last episode, because we're not going to survive that.
Well,
No,
he's not going to survive.
Yeah, so we're not all making it out of this one.
Yeah, well,
Well, okay, back to this. You know, God damn it. So a big alien bursts into the room. He's got arms coming out of his head. He isn't singing or speaking in English. And he's yelling at the other two aliens. And the kids piece it together pretty quickly. They're like, oh fuck, this is the father.
Thank you. I was waiting for that.
can you say it in Alien?
Father. And basically these two kids stole their dad's car and went joyriding and apparently sent coded blueprints to some random kid's dream.
That's the story.
As one does when you steal your dad's
So I there's a scene I really like that involves the father. So Neek is the sister, and she's like, take this crystal, and gives it to Ben. He's like, oh my God. And no one really knows what it does. She's like, just take it.
I mean, it's quite clearly the missing piece from his blueprint.
It is. But the kids at the time were like, what's
What is it?
going on? They're like, you'll know. And the scene...
That's that thing dreams are made of. Stuff that dreams are made of.
Yeah, I love the stuff dreams are made of. And then the father is like, meow, 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 meow. And the last scene you see is a big hand coming towards the screen, and it just blacks out. I'm like, did he just choke those kids?
Yeah, he killed them.
He choked them to sleep. There you go.
Back to sleep forever.
And then they are sent booted. Their asses are booted out of that ship back onto their pod. Then they zigzag, swirl, and warp back into their own universe. And then they go back to the point of origin, as noted by Wolfie. He's like, all right, the coordinates are there. And they're almost there. They see their town. Darren's like, there's my dad. I wonder what he's doing. It's like a very weird comment. Then they get above a lake or some body of water, and they're just dumped right in. The force field deactivates. They're like, oh my God, we don't have control of any of this.
Right.
And Wolfie's like, then how are we flying? They're like, we are not. And they just crash land into the lake.
Right. The $8,000 worth of computer equipment that was in there is broken.
Right. But let me throw this out. A real saving grace of the story. I love this movie, but I've said this before about the story. You know who has a dream about what's going on? Lori.
Yeah.
And Lori's like, oh my God. And then runs and sees all this happening. And what she really sees happening is she gets there at a point where these three boys are in this water with a pod and swimming out.
And she doesn't interact with them. She just fucking leaves.
No, and then writes a note about it the next day. Like
totally normal stuff.
Have a nice trip. Have a nice trip, spaceman. Spaceman. He's all cool like spaceman.
With a glance back, and that was that.
Yeah. So he's like, oh, that's crazy. So she's involved with the dreams now. Because remember Lori? No, you don't. Because what the hell?
I certainly didn't.
Yeah, no one did. Like, why did this happen? I know Ben had a love interest. Like, I guess cool. But like, this person didn't even need to be there. He just like said it once. Like, that's it. But I guess she's involved with the dreams now. So now they're back in school. And they're like, super bummer. Back in school. And, Wolfgang is kind of, I guess looking at a textbook, and the teacher's talking, calls on Ben, and he gets the question wrong yet again. And he's just fumbling around with his crystal, and it starts glowing. And it's a communique from the aliens, and the movie turns into almost the never-ending story at the end, where all these kids are just in a dream, flying around, and they finally solve the circuit board. And I think Wolfie says something like, I don't know what those crazy guys are doing now, but I can't wait to see like what this new circuit board's going to be like. And they're all like, well, if this is a dream, then, what's going to happen when we wake up? And they're like, I can't wait to see what reality is. Explorers 1985.
Yeah. And then he does the stupid little like Superman air punch.
There's some weird stuff going on.
God.
And then the end credits are weird, where everyone has like a box within the end credits.
Yeah.
It's like TV within TV.
They also do the thing where they show the entry logo on the right before the movie ends, like Explorers. You just watched this movie.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And you did.
We did.
Kind of.
Yeah, we did.
That last, like you said, Mike, quarter or third, just wow. What?
It was. Yeah.
It shook it off, and I gotta say, But this movie's all right.
Well, let's talk about. We got
Yeah,
some
yeah.
stuff before we go to our final.
End of podcast. It's all right.
Don't worry, I wasn't going to go into the whole spiel.
If you would like to reach out to us in any capacity, feel free at rabbittroopsuckspodcast@gmail.com. If there's a movie you would like us to watch, review, or you have something to tell us, or just something cool about film, or you need those mic isolated clips, let us know. rabbittroopsuckspodcast@gmail.com, or go to our website proper, rabbittroopsucks.com. There you will find links to merchandise, our episodes, pictures of us, various other things, all fun things. As a reminder, we are on multiple platforms, so if you'd like to jump a platform and listen to us somewhere else, you are able to do so. YouTube, that podcast app that I use, Amazon, wherever you could think of. Beyond that, we're also on social media, Facebook and Instagram. And remember, tomorrow, if you're listening to this on the Friday release, we will be at MiniCon in Aurora, 12:15, and you could see us talk about it doesn't take Christmas. It's not just Christmas that it takes, or however I phrase it. Christmas,
Well, it'll be better then.
Christmas unnecessary. But redemption stories from film. Yeah.
Before we get into it, can I throw a quick plug in here?
Yes.
Yeah. So, friend and occasional guest host of the podcast, Chris, has a business called New England Hi-Fi, and they're running a promotion right now where if you like their YouTube page, you can win a free vinyl cleaning kit, like vinyl records. I know all of us in the room are record collectors.
Oh yeah.
So hop over to newenglandhifi.com. Also, if you need any like vintage restored or refurbed gear, like his store,
Definitely check it out.
Definitely check it out. Like he's got cool old like Marantz and Yamaha stuff all fully gone over. Great little shop in Sopo, Maine, South Portland.
Yeah, all the pictures he posts. I mean, Chris, again, has been a guest on the show. Hi, Chris. Hopefully you're listening to this episode. Yeah, when he posts pictures about his shop, and go check it out also on Instagram, his technology, it looks like retro future. So I always say, like, it's going to be like Blade Runner.
Yeah,
and it's
no,
like the
it's
most
cool stuff.
Yeah, it's the most beautiful technology you can imagine.
Yes.
And I saw he's getting into retro games. I hope that's going well for him in his store too.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, hop on over, like his YouTube page. The winner will be announced September 27th. So he's
Hell
got
yeah.
an up and coming YouTube channel. Check
Hi,
it out.
Chris.
Hey, Chris.
It sounds like some cool shit.
Yeah, it is definitely cool.
Lamar, I know you're bucking to go. What are you thinking about Explorers 1985?
The movie was good. There's a point in time where you think the movie isn't good, but it still is good. I mean, it's just long. You got to go through a whole diatribe of, like you said, Johnny Carson and Mr. Ed clips and stand-up of whatever this alien was doing. That's the part that really stands out. Other than that, these kids are kind of amazing together. I kind of like them all. They work well together. Ethan Hawke, River Phoenix, and got a Jason Presson. Overall, they're just exploring good times. Take out that long alien montage scene. It's really jarring when it shows up, but ignore that. You got yourselves a good movie there. Another thing. This movie's longer than we thought.
Yes.
Hour 49 minutes, I think it logged in at.
Yeah, we're thinking it was like an hour and a half to begin with. It's like an hour 30.
We know where that time could have been made up, but
Yes.
I'm not going to go back into that. The other thing I just want to mention, we mentioned it numerous times, Lori, her character, I understand why they put her in just as a kind of a love interest, just for a little something for, what's the main character's name? I forgot.
Ben?
Ben. Just for a little something for Ben outside of just being everything's science fiction 50s. He needs something more. And I feel like they tried to do that and it just didn't work. It was kind of half-assed, but they pulled it. I don't want to say they pulled it off, but they did something with it in the end. They had a little kiss as they were flying. It's kind of like little, he did it. He won. They flew off. Movie's good. Good movie. I don't know what else to say about it.
I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go next.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm gonna fix that Ben Lori scene for you, or the whole character dynamic.
Yes, please do.
I think it should be this. Lori is in the beginning. Lori is seen, and Ben is making eye contact, or they talk a little bit. But Ben doesn't have a lot of courage to ask her out. Ben wants something. Then maybe she is seen later, where he's like, "Oh, that's her house." Like maybe they just fly past. He doesn't have to get all extra Romeo and Juliet, extra creepy on her. But it could just be like, oh, I flew past her house and I saw her. Like, like what a crush, and just says something. But it really, the culmination should be at the end, not her dreaming this, not joining, where through this experience, he gained the courage to like find himself. Like, I was able to do this. I was able to do this mission. I found my voice. I'm going to go ask this girl out. And she'd be like, I would love to go to the homecoming dance or whatever it is. And then the end, and they're happy, but she's not part of the dream sequence.
Something kind of like proving himself to her or something.
Right. And that's me noting if they want to use her. I would also argue that they could cut her character completely out and it would not really affect the movie in any way or shape with the way they have it. So they should have changed it or edited. But yeah, I know where Mike's going to go in part of this, but not all of it by any means. But yeah, I chose this movie. I grew up watching this movie tons and tons. I just really feel it is a really creative movie. I think it's inspirational to children like me growing up to be like, even though I clearly and quickly learned like you can't just do all these things and there's so much fiction, it inspired me to be like, what if you could? And like that would be a fun story and like a situation to be in. And I could definitely live in that imagination. I totally agree with Lamar, the dynamic of the kids. The Jason Presson, I've only seen in a couple other things outside of this. River Phoenix, clearly a ton, up until his untimely death. Sneakers is a movie I'd love to do. I know Mike and I have talked about this before.
You know, Jeremy quoted Sneakers on an episode a couple weeks ago, and I didn't really pick up on it until I re-listened it.
I got you. You just got Jeremied.
I did. Jeremy, you got me.
Got sneaked. And Ethan Hawke. I mean, Ethan Hawke, I think, is a cool dude to begin with. As I said, you know, what a dynamic person in Hollywood, from actor, then to writer and director and, you know, producer of lots of stuff. So he's been in a lot of cool stuff. So yeah, I overall like this film. I also, I think this was a starting moment in real life for me, where I just believed in kind of the ideas and interconnectivity of dreams. Not like this, not what's shown, but the idea that like there might be something more to dreams and the dream self. And I've always been interested in it. So I think as a kid, this was like an easy way for me to be like, this is a cool, very low level intro, clearly based in fiction. But I was like, cool. What do you think about Explorers, Mike, 1985?
Yeah, I mean, overall, I did really like this movie. And if I wouldn't hesitate to show it to like age appropriate children. Even today, I think it holds up. The Lori thing is weird. It almost felt like maybe they filmed more scenes and she was more of a character. But then they're like, Joe, this movie's like 3 hours long. You got to cut something. He's like, we're keeping the musical scene. Get rid of the chick.
I'm Joe goddamn Dante.
You know who I am. Yeah, like it's like fun childhood, like exploration and like, I don't know, wonderment, whatever. It's jarring when the aliens show up. If they hadn't have sang and there wasn't a monologue, it would have gone down way smoother. And honestly, it didn't really add anything. I really want to know what Joe Dante's fascination with like sexy creatures is, because the sister felt a lot like the sexy gremlin from Gremlin 2, where it's like
I got that vibe too.
Yeah, there's like a monster girl who wants to bone.
Lamar, the vibe I got was short-lived animation, High School High.
Sure.
Oh, goddamn.
Chris Columbus.
Galaxy High.
Yeah. Galaxy High. Yeah. Galaxy High. You know, Chris Columbus. Chris Columbus, dude. That's Home Alone.
That's crazy.
That's oh my God. Harry Potter. Yeah. Chris Columbus.
Mm-hmm.
Look it up. He was directing an anime, Galaxy High. I own this. It's on Prime if any of you want to watch it.
It's nuts.
Yeah. It's about two Earthlings who go to a like intergalactic space school. So there's representatives from all sorts of planets and galaxies and stuff like that.
It's a great animated series from the early 90s, I want to say.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Early 80s, dude.
Late 80s?
Late, wow. I think like mid, like 84.
Really? Wow.
Like super early.
Damn.
We should look.
How old am I? Damn.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
But yeah, all in all, this was a good movie. I liked it. I just the singing and
that part. Yeah, I'm with you there, Mike.
Yeah, it felt unnecessary, and it just felt like disrespectful to the rest of the movie.
Galaxy High School, 1986.
Oh, nice. God damn! How old am I? That was a long time ago.
Well, Mike, I am glad you watched this. I mean, especially, such notable stars. How do you feel about the cast? Like going outside of this, like how do you feel about like the kids?
The cast is good. Everyone does a good job. Like, I can't fault any of the people in the movie, or even the writing. It's just that maybe 20 minutes of alien nonsense.
Yeah, you could fault some of that writing.
I fault all of that, but like everything aside from that, maybe have Wolfgang's outfits be less stereotypical nerd. Like the last scene of the movie where they're standing outside of the tree, he's dressed like Inspector Gadget for some reason. Like, who was picking this?
You know who picked it? Inspector Gadget.
Joe Dante's good friend.
Once again, there was these weird BBC British sensibilities steeping in somehow. Weird spiders, weird
honestly, like
apparel.
It did. The whole spaceship did feel a bit Doctor Who-ish.
I know, like what's going on? There's something weird going on. We should probably do more investigations.
Yeah.
What kind of podcast are we?
A great podcast. Yeah.
You know, coming up next week, you know what we got? I wish Colin was here because he giggles every time.
Yeah, he does.
We're going to be watching The Ice Pirates.
Ice Pirates.
1984.
Ice is hard to find in space. You gotta pirate it, apparently.
You gotta get a whole crew. You gotta get a sick ass crew and go all out.
Yeah.
For ice.
You son of a bitch. I'm in.
Can't wait.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be fun. You know, it was crazy. You know, my final synopsis of Explorers is this. Not all of you could always experience this, but honestly, this movie's kind of cozy for me. I don't know, his kid sensibilities. And while we watched this movie, it was raining the entire time. And every now and then I could hear the drizzle of the rain.
It did seem apropos, like, welcome to fall.
Yeah, I was like, I am totally ready for this. I was like, it's raining. It's a better temperature. And I was like, I'm watching this movie. Kids are wearing jackets. It seems like fallish to begin with.
Yeah, I can get that vibe. Definitely.
Yeah. Next week, Ice Pirates, though. It all comes back to water.
It's going to get cold.
Yeah.
And while I'm playing for you, it might be raining there, too.
There you go.
Well, as always, Rabbit Troop sucks.
Rabbit
Troop sucks.
Starkiller, you're being taken from behind.
No.
Dear God.